The Importance of Our Acceptable Use Policy by Danica Justin, Greenbelt Middle School, EDTC 630, Summer 2015. AUP stands for Acceptable Use Policy. Most businesses and schools or districts which provide internet access and/or technological equipment for use by employees have an AUP to protect the company, school, district, employees, and students, and equipment such as computers or tablets. It is important for a school such as ours to have an effective AUP which is specific and easily understood, so that our staff and students are protected against personal information being shared on the internet, inappropriate or illegal use of our network, and viruses or other dangerous materials which could result in the loss of internet access to more than just the user who might be the originator or acquirer of such dangerous materials. We want staff and students to have reliable access to internet and content, online databases, global connections which are education-based, etc. But to provide reliable and safe access, we must have guidelines for use. These guidelines are outlined in our Acceptable Use Policy. Prince George's County, and therefore Greenbelt Middle School, has a single Acceptable Use Policy which is applicable to both students and staff. This policy can be found at www.1.pgcps.org under General Counsel and Board Policies, or by searching Acceptable Use Policy on the PGCPS homepage. Essentially, our Acceptable Use Policy requires students and staff to apply all related pieces of the Student Code of Conduct to their use of PGCPS network and equipment. In addition, students and staff are explicitly forbidden to use the network or PGCPS-issued devices to send or display offensive messages or pictures, use obscene language, harass, insult, or attack others, damage computers, computer systems or networks, violate copyright laws, use another's password, trespass in another's folders, work, or files, or intentionally waste limited resources. Finally, employing the network for commercial purposes is also forbidden. Consequences for violations begin with restriction of users' access to the network and equipment, disciplinary action, a letter of reprimand, and if necessary, criminal charges. Because it is such an integral piece of our successful utilization of the internet and technology devices, the AUP should be communicated to staff, students, and parents in multiple manners which address the audience's varied needs. The AUP should be included in all printed and virtual staff and student handbooks, aside the Student Code of Conduct. The AUP should also be shared at back-to-school and open house nights when staff, students, and parents are all present. It should be posted in our computer lab and next to computer workstations or on laptop carts as reminders for staff and students when we use these devices at school. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, the AUP should be easily accessible without much searching on the county and school website for viewing by staff, students, and parents at any time and from any location. Teachers integrating technology and/or internet use into their courses should begin the year by providing each student a copy of the AUP, either virtual or paper, reviewing the guidelines and prohibitions described on the AUP, and having students acknowledge in writing receipt and understanding of the Acceptable Use Policy and possible consequences for ignoring elements of the AUP. Students should participate in a discussion about what-ifs revolving around the lack of adherence to our AUP. What if your full name or address was posted on the internet and a dangerous person found it? What if a peer posted something derogatory or offensive about you during class? How would our class or assignments change if one of us violated this policy and then we lost access to the internet or computers? While our network has many illegal and inappropriate websites blocked, students are creative and will find ways around these blocks with little work. Therefore, a teacher must monitor students' use of the internet and devices frequently by being present and aware of what the students are doing using the technology at all times during the class period, and by visiting students' working documents virtually to check on progress. As teachers, we must also adhere to the guidelines set forth in the PGCPS Acceptable Use Policy. We must ensure that we are responsible, ethical, and only conduct legal and school-related business on the PGCPS network and when using PGCPS-issued devices. We need to make sure we are not endangering ourselves, the network, or the equipment by accessing sites which are questionable or not related to education or our content. We need to protect ourselves and students' information by avoiding viruses and by not posting personal information such as full names or addresses to the internet or sharing this information in messages with people online. In adhering to our Acceptable Use Policy, we are not only protecting ourselves and our students, but we are also promoting the standards for both teachers and students created by the International Society for Technology and Education. Scholastic for Librarians explains why having and communicating an AUP is important in schools. because not all inappropriate content is blocked, and because students are children, and even teachers get curious about non-education related content sometimes. We must teach and continue to discuss responsible use of the internet and devices. We do not want useful and important data and sites to be blocked by a filter, resulting in a lesser educational experience, because we as staff and our students acted irresponsibly.